I am Jim Collison and live from the Gallup studios here in Omaha, Nebraska. This is Gallup's Theme Thursday, Season 4, recorded on August 9th, 2018. Theme Thursday is a Gallup Webcast series that dives deep into the Clifton Strengths themes one at a time. And today's theme is harmony. If you have questions, comments, or contributions about this for this webcast, you can get those to us in our live chat room. Many of you already signed into it, but if you want to do that, bottom left-hand corner, choose the guest account, put your name in where it says guest, hit submit. Super easy to get in there. You can use any variety of social account as well. Love to have you chat during that. It's really important for the post show. You can only get the post show if you come out for the live show, where we take your questions live. Don't forget, you can pop that chat room out as well. There's some red boxes in the upper right-hand corner. Just click on those. It'll pop it out. You can put it anywhere on your screen. Join us in the chat room. If you're listening to the recorded version or have questions about custom strengths coaching solutions, or really any questions, you can send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Don't forget to visit the Gallup Strength Center, just gallupstrengthcenter.com for all your Clifton Strengths coaching resources and trading needs. You can also catch the video, now downloadable audio for offline listening. We call that podcasting. If you haven't caught on to that, everybody, all the cool kids are doing it, Maika. All those resources are available at our coaches blog, including all the links to be able to get the podcasts, coaching.gallup.com. Maika Leibbrandt is our host today. She works as a workplace consultant for us here. Maika, always great to have you on Theme Thursday, and welcome back.
Thanks, Jim. Great to be here. Excited to talk about harmony today.
Yeah, when we think about harmony, this is one of those harmony, empathy that go together. And I think it has some, I don't know, I think people don't always think about how powerful it can be. And we kind of think of a meadow and some, butterflies. And I think it's a powerful theme. So let's dig into it. Let's do a little quick, brief definition, then we'll move forward.
Sure. So harmony and empathy, I think, are probably very likely pairs. If you think about it like that, they both fall into that relationship building category. Today, we're going to talk just about harmony, which the brief theme description would be those people who look for consensus rather than conflict. They have a radar for areas of agreement, areas that we can move forward and get to forward progress by understanding people's motivations, people's emotions, navigating to a place where all of those players really are in sync.
Maika, I have this saying that goes something like this: where two or more are gathered, there is conflict. And, right? I mean, you and I in the pre-show were talking about this. Human nature is just full of conflict, right? And this is why I think this theme is so powerful, because conflict is everywhere. And it's really bad online right now. Like we are having, the globe is having a problem with comments and posts on the internet. And it's inherently negative, and we're having all these problems. So this is where I really think people high in harmony can make a difference. When we think about what they're best at, let's dig in a little bit. Where are they best? What do they bring? What can they offer?
Sure. So I think maybe the strengths-based assumption, maybe the little bit of twist on where two or more are gathered, there's conflict, would probably bring us back to that principle of differences are advantages. So if two or more are gathered, we know explicitly that there is difference. Harmony can find the agreement between those differences, or the ability, I think, to set the differences on a level, on a volume where they mesh together instead of where they attack each other. So when you're at your best, if you've got high harmony, think about these things that you could bring to your team, to your community, to your family. It's about the ability to bring the team together toward a common goal, toward a shared vision, or maybe even toward a collaborative emotion, providing a sense of calmness that other people can feel. If you go back to season 1, I think that's when we hear from Sherry Tier making a gesture of harmony, of just taking her hands and sort of bringing them down and just let's tone things down a little bit. Let's get to a place where practicality wins over emotion, because typically that emotion, if it's leading to conflict, I think what harmony can do is diffuse conflict with practicality and with agreement, offering progress from a side of, hey, we might not all win, but what if we're not playing a game? What if we're not fighting? Then we don't have worry about having a winner. What can we do together? How do we move forward? I think the value that harmony brings is also steering partners or teams away from potentially messy future conflict or potentially offensive issues or ideas. So it's that talent to predict and avoid emotional turbulence.
So I think we live in a culture where I think we live in a global culture where this is going to be needed. This theme is going to be needed more in the next 15 or 20 years. What can we do more of? So it's not just about having it and knowing you have it. What kind of things can we do with it?
Raise your hand for any opportunity to forecast the emotional landscape. Is there going to be a big presentation, maybe a kickoff or a new partnership? Maybe there's existing work. If you are sensing a mess within that, say something. You don't have to own the mess. You don't have to own the outcome, but your insight is going to be unique. If you're sensing, it's almost like predictive empathy there of you might be able to see potential conflict, and you're going to see that where other people aren't. As we've been talking about this, I think it's probably pretty easy for people to listen to this entire theme description and think, well, why would that be necessary? What's wrong with conflict? And from a harmony standpoint, there are certainly times that conflict is going to get us somewhere if it's a conflict that's safe and that's agreed upon and that everybody's going to come out unbruised. But I think the reason that very often harmony would prefer to go around that conflict is because what they truly want is the ability for everybody to move forward. So again, it's not saying that we're placing a positive or a negative value on argument or on debate or even on agreement. It's really being able to shine the light on the forward progress that can happen, the collaboration that can lead to better outcomes than if we were working alone, and the glue that happens relationally when we land on areas of consensus. So again, raise your hand for opportunities maybe to summarize the tone in a way that other people can understand it. That might mean saying things like, hey, I'm hearing this from you. I'm hearing that from another person, and not having to make any conclusions about that, but just knowing that you've got your ear to the ground for where we might all be on the same page. Other people don't have their ear to that same ground. So bring it out into the open so other people can benefit from it. I also think we can squeeze the best out of you if you've got high harmony. If you think about encouraging people to work together as maybe a project, as maybe something you do on purpose. Now, this might mean knowing who the experts are in each situation and being able to talk those people up, being able to market those experts and think about where should we really defer to certain people's opinions and how can you encourage other people to follow and listen.
What about asking for, what kind of things can they ask for? What kind of environments best support that? Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. If you have high harmony, chances are you're going to be better. You're going to thrive more if you feel like you're a valuable part of a team. So think about building personal relationships as an important part of any project. A safe space for you is going to be important, a safe space to share your insights about conflict in a way that they're not going to cause more conflict. So for you, depending on your other themes, it might be that you have a one-on-one time established with a team leader, or it might be that you get to that we yield the floor to you at the end of a meeting, really to summarize what you've heard. You could think about yourself perhaps as a progress advisor, someone who can tell a leader of a team, hey, here's some areas where we might all be on the same page that we can very quickly knock off. Maybe it's sort of doing it out loud. Maybe it's just even journaling, but making sure you've got that safe space to bring your insights out into the light. You can thrive when you sense that a group is on the same page. So seek out teams and projects that are solid about their expectations. Look for opportunities to help those teams and those projects grow to something even better.
Yeah, Micah, I love that emphasis on seeking out teams to help with consensus, to help with, again, I think sometimes we think kumbaya, everybody's holding hands, we have candles lit. Not really what I think it's intended. It's more teams inherently, when people are together, inherently have conflict. It's just a part of the system. And it's going to need this, much like when I'm cooking and I need salt. We've been doing HelloFresh. They put salt and pepper on everything. They're famous.
Got rid of all the rest of my spices. I was like,
pepper,
apparently all I need is salt, pepper, and olive oil.
Salt, pepper to taste, right? They say that all the time. And we need that harmony, I think, for team leads or team leaders or managers. It's one of those important ingredients. If we're going to have high functioning teams, we have to really, really think about what's our harmony components and how are we going to bring this in. And again, it's not a feel good harmony in the sense it's a work together. How are we going to be productive together in this setting? And I think those with high harmony are able to sense that, much like the empathy can sense in individuals. I think the harmony can sense in kind of groups. Are they working together or not? Where are we missing on this?
Yeah, I think it just made my brain sort of fly into a really cool place. If empathy, like you said, can sense the emotions of individuals, I think harmony can sense the emotions between individuals. That space, space in between you and me is really where harmony thrives. And what a great sort of way to exhale for people with high harmony, just to say, you know what, I need to make sure that I spend some time, maybe the majority of my time even, in places where people are already working together.
Yeah. And Paul says something interesting in the chat room. He says, I'd have to imagine that harmony folks get frustrated a lot because it takes time to reach consensus. But business these days is all about making decisions quickly. How do harmony folks expedite consensus? And I don't know if frustrated in your theme is the right thing to look at it. I think harmony people enjoy the process of getting people to consensus. That's what it's about. It's not about, I think sometimes feeling it. It's not like, oh, there's tension in the room, I can't stand this. It's there's tension in the room and I want to fix it. What's it going to take to get this done?
In my experience working with people with high harmony, I think about Gail Muller and his ability to really quickly in a meeting, be able to not just sense the tension, but be able to sense the tension, know why it was there, and know where we can agree. Right. So I would even maybe challenge the notion that consensus takes time. I think if you have high harmony, you accelerate the time it gets to get to consensus, or you can do that for the group because you're maybe not diving into all the emotional quagmires that you would without harmony in order to feel for, gosh, where might we agree? Instead, you've got this laser beam and you can sort of skim the surface and be able to see, oh, there's a place where we're all on the same lily pad. Let's jump to that one.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about worrying less. We also live in a global culture that worries a lot, and especially here in the United States. What can we worry less about?
You know what? If you've got high harmony, worry less about winning the debate. You're probably not going to enjoy debate for the sake of debate. You won't enjoy participating, and you won't get much learning out of listening to other people debate or argue. When you do find yourself in that space, though, I think look very closely for areas of agreement and list them, then share them if it's appropriate. But don't feel like you have to have a voice in every argument. You just might be too practical to get swept up in that.
So when we're working with harmony, this is the part of the show where we really start thinking about, like, okay, how do we plug in with people who have this? What should we expect?
Yeah, this is the point where we shift from if it's you to if it's someone you love. Expect when you're working with folks with high harmony, expect that they don't just like agreement because they're afraid of the opposite. I think you should be prepared for a values base that really appreciates agreement at their core. They're not weak, they're not fluffy, they're not timid, but somehow in their gut, in their soul, they truly believe the importance of togetherness, and they know that we can all benefit from that consensus. So that's one way that I want to say, don't take this lightly. Take this as something that's going to be really woven into the structure of their being. Expect a desire to feel sure or certain about what this person is doing. So help them find a defined approach and a broadly agreed upon definition of success. And that's how I think you can expect them to, when you can expect them to be at their best.
And what about recognition? Because this could be a tough one, I think, for a lot of people to see. Again, if we come at this from this, I think maybe ill-conceived idea that harmony only seeks comfortable in situations, as opposed to harmony seeks out that which is in conflict to make it harmonious, right? How do we recognize those kinds of people?
Think about how this person maybe has unlocked others when they were stuck in opposition. Have there been times when they've created a place where we can all move forward together? That might be harder to notice because it's not harmony, I think, by itself isn't going to be the loudest voice in the room. It's going to be how have we negotiated well? Have we achieved a win-win? Also, talk about the progress that's been possible because of their practicality to moving forward together. Celebrate shared wins. Celebrate something that the entire team has been a part of. Celebrate those times when we've done something together. I think about like a whole bunch of people standing horizontally holding hands as if it was setting up for a game of Red Rover, but you're not running through the hands. It's this idea that if you've got a chain link of people, that we can do more if we all progress at the same time. Also, think about praising what a good team member this person is. Their willingness to adjust, their tolerance for differing opinions might be the glue that holds everybody together, and the infrastructure that really allows other people to shine. So in many ways, you might look for the power of the assist when you're celebrating harmony.
Power of the assist. I like that. Mike's got some great recognition for someone on his team out of the chat room. He says, I have a gentleman on my team with high harmony. He is the best, capital letters, at working with emotionally dysfunctional groups. I have to make sure as a manager not to give him too many of those projects at once.
Right.
He puts a lot of time and effort into those projects. And then the chat room just moved away from me. And the outcome is usually fantastic. He's patient where others may not be. I love that, right? Including me.
Love that.
Glad to have a presence like him on my team. I think that's an awesome way for a manager to think through and recognize the power of this, right? This is kind of what we're talking about.
I love that word patience. I think that's amazing for harmony.
No, it really is. And I think it's the essence, right, of someone who in dysfunction can be patient to help people work through it. Again, if we just see it as someone who's trying to seek peace, we're missing the power in this theme. It's one who facilitates conflict to peace in being able to find, and maybe even peace is the wrong word, but in consensus, that's probably a better term of finding consensus on what's best for the team. I don't know, anything you want to add to that, Maika?
I think peace is probably a moving target. Agreement is probably more accurate for harmony. It seems like we're almost teetering on this idea of they should seek out conflict in order to fix it. And I don't think that harmony has quite that much of a forward moving sort of progress orientation, meaning progressing from conflict to agreement. I think it is seeking out agreement and avoiding the conflict sometimes in a really helpful way. I also know that harmony in many ways can be a lot like positivity and some of these other themes. I'm thinking specifically some of these relationship building themes where if you're high in relationship building themes, it can feel a lot like your emotions are outside of you, like they're in this space between you and other people, and so they can get drained a lot quicker than others. So just like somebody with positivity is going to take a toll being around negative people more than people without it, somebody with high harmony is going to take a toll being around conflict more than people without it.
Maika, off script here for a second, or off notes.
What?
Can harmony be preventative in the sense that it starts to think through environments that would be beneficial, knowing maybe the tension that is coming or knowing the conflict that is coming, and so sets up the environment to its favor in order to create consensus? Do you think it's got that forward thinking?
Totally. Well, I think about that ability to predict and adjust. What they're going to be having their lens for is where might there be some conflict? Where might there be some tension? Where might there just be two completely valid but totally opposing viewpoints who have to work together? Harmony then, depending on some other themes, but I think with that harmony, you could adjust it so that those don't happen. Or you could think about yourself as maybe an agreement predictor for people, like an oracle for harmony, being able to say, hey, let me tell this person that if they make this statement in this keynote presentation that really worked in a previous audience, it is going to cause tension in this current audience. It almost sounds like includer a little bit when you think about it like that, being able to predict and inform and anticipate the potential areas of conflict that might come across. And again, a lot of it is that conflict that's going to happen because of emotion, not just because of maybe logistics or differing opinions. It's where is there going to be high emotion and how can I help us steer clear of it?
Yeah, that's a superpower. I just can't. I can't.
Isn't it amazing?
It is. I can't. And so I really appreciate people who can do that. We all have opportunities. These themes don't come full power when we get them. And so we need to stretch them and learn in this. How would somebody high in harmony, how would we stretch them?
Yeah, if you're going to help this person develop, maybe help them find their voice and the most helpful way to share that voice. Not just, hey, how can you speak up, but why and when do we really need consensus, and how can we help you share that at the most important times? I also think sometimes the desire to keep the peace can keep people with high harmony silent. Describe the uniqueness of this theme to them as a strength. Describe the superpower of it. Play the last 20 minutes of this podcast for them. Describe it as something that your team really needs, and understand when your team does need it. So being able to honestly say, this is what's super valuable. It's the power and edge of what you bring, and sharing insights to their insights, that sharing their insights really can lead to times where all of us get to experience a win.
Yeah. And as a manager or as a team member, whatever, how can we support them? How can we partner with them?
Help them avoid situations where conflict is going to be inevitable, and just know that they're not going to be at their best there. Give them some grace if conflict is going to be inevitable, and help prepare them for it. Also, be honest and share your own thoughts with them. If there's something that you are truly bothered by, something that you're conflicted by, or even positively very passionate about, they'll be a better partner to you if they know where you're coming from. So a lot of this is being able to sense where there's some tension, but you can accelerate that strength in somebody else by telling them, by not making them guess or sense where some of your hot buttons might lie, both positive or negative.
Maika, and some of the things we've said, I want to caution folks that they don't take our words and speak truth into other people without asking.
Absolutely.
And because everybody's a little different, even in a lot of the things we say. You and I have done 3 seasons together of this. And I get sometimes, we go about this idea of strengths development as like, if you just, it sparked me when you said this, have them listen to the last 20 minutes of what we're saying here. And sometimes that's manipulation, right? That is, in other words, somebody said something and I want you to act like that. And so I'm going to have you listen or read or do something like that. And that's not what we're trying to do here. What we're trying to do is give you some clues to talent that either you yourself could take advantage of, or you can work with people. But you always need to ask. It's because we don't know that person. We can't say it is exactly like these things.
No, and
right?
let's be real honest about even season 4, and the difference between this season's podcast and any previous one is really, with season 4, we're taking liberties. We're saying, wow, from all of our experience coaching and helping people develop, what's the advice giving side of things? How do we extrapolate maybe 2 or 3 steps away from just the definition of naming this and understanding what this theme is? How do we walk even further down that pathway and give people ideas, or give people solid activities or challenges to pursue mastery and excellence and real strength in this area of talent? Everything that we're talking about today, I wrote in notes. This is not coming verbatim from our technical report. This is not necessarily going back and researching specifically what everybody with high harmony has ever done. This is just helping nudge you off center a little bit so that you can stop thinking about it in that name it space and start to appreciate and apply it. So this is not meant to work for everybody, right? And even if you go back to your very first time that you read your Clifton Strengths report, we still use language that encourages the reality that we can't get it right for everybody, that the chances of us knowing exactly who you are astronomical. So you'll even notice language in your very original report that says you may be like this, you might be like that. A lot of that comes from the difference that occurs when you start to blend themes together. So I would also encourage you to take a look at your theme dynamics as a really great clue to start to personalize this. You might be listening to this with harmony and thinking, that is just not me. And especially with this season, that's okay. What we're trying to do is something almost manufactured, which is isolate the theme. And that doesn't happen in real people. Everybody in real life is walking around with this theme and some combination of 33 others. So it's important that you give yourself the space and give other people the space to name for themselves what this theme means, what the value of it is, and then to think about actions that they design that really help them translate it from that potential area of talent into the performance area of strength.
And actually what you did just there was like harmony in action. There you sensed the tension. You looked at it and then began to kind of resolve like, okay, what are we really trying to do here? And I would think that was almost an exercise in harmony, right? Of like, how are we bringing this together as a community and not beating the sheep, so to speak, but really using it in a way to help people learn and grow. I would think someone high in harmony would have approached it the same way. You just did that naturally because we're talking about this. But I love that example. I think if somebody with harmony would say, hey, wait a minute, I'm sensing some tension in this. Let's really remember why we're doing this.
Well, and what somebody with high harmony probably would have done more explicitly. I don't have it very high, and I'd love anybody to just take a look at my themes and tell me where that came from instead. But I think what somebody with high harmony would have done more overtly is said, I'm sensing some tension. Let's go back to a place where we agree. Yeah. Or I'm sensing some tension. Let's zoom forward to a place where we agree.
Right. Yeah. No, really good. We have been spending some time thinking about these dominant theme challenges and lesser theme challenges. They're available. Maika's making them available through her Instagram account. So if you go to @StrengthsTalk on Instagram, we have been posting them, or we've been encouraging you to post them in our Call to Coach Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/call to coach. Get you there as well. We'd also like you to go back to the show notes. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, which means we've released it in a set of show notes, we actually put them in the show notes for you. You can share them there as well. But Maika, when we think about some dominant theme challenges, we have 3 here. How would you like to challenge them this week?
Sure. If harmony is a dominant theme for you, the first challenge is I want you to study what routines you have that help you build consensus. And what's the best one and how could it improve? Number 2, next time you're in a group discussion, this might be a dinner table, this might be a meeting, anytime there's a group, make it a point to invite one more person to speak their mind. The more voices that you hear, the better chance you have of finding common ground among the group. So invite one more person to speak up. And number 3, get to know the subject matter experts on your team. So I'd like you to interview 3 people on your team about something they know and care a lot about. This is going to help you rally behind them, help direct your team toward their valuable experience anytime that you might find a time that you're leaderless or a time that you need to steer towards some expertise in the future.
And then we have been spending some time, and this has been my favorite because the lesser theme challenges actually have been a little more interesting to me. I really like them. You've done a nice job on them this year. So let's kind of focus on them. If you don't have harmony, Maika, two challenges. What would they be?
Sure. If harmony is a lesser theme for you, I think there's challenges to consider how you respond to conflict, to look for not just how do I grow harmony, which you probably can't, but what do I do instead? Number 1, we're going to call it learn more. Ask a friend or a colleague to describe their viewpoint on a subject that they are consistently pretty passionate about. So set some boundaries. The goal is not to have a debate. The goal is just to learn more about somebody else's viewpoints. So you might even say, I'm just going to ask you some questions and I appreciate your answers. Number 2, develop a process that helps you check in with people and build consensus. So your need for progress, if you don't have harmony or if it's a lesser theme for you, it might mean that just overshadows your need to build consensus. You might be more excited about moving forward than you are making sure everyone's coming with you. So what can you do that makes sure people are on board?
That's a super good one, by the way. Like, I think we all could and should have those periodic check-ins to be like, okay, but it does require safety and a safe space. Yeah. Like, you can't just do this. You can't be an untrusted person and then say, hey, people, tell me your honest opinions. It doesn't work that way, right? You need to build in trust. But I spend an enormous amount of time, especially with some of our younger technology folks, probing for that. How are you feeling? How is this coming? Is this working? So often, Maika, when I'm learning this generation that's coming up just won't say it. They're not as forward in how they're feeling about it. They've kind of, because they've been so blasted on social media, they're actually, I think it's affecting, and they're pulling back a little bit in what they'll say in person. What I'm finding is once you've gained that trust, holy cow, floodgates open and you get it all.
I think there is this you've brought up social media recently, several times. And I think there is a real bruise on our culture that I would call hashtag don't read the comments section, right? Because it can be so nasty and probably so misrepresentative because you probably wouldn't live that way out loud if you were in person with somebody. And I do think that there is perhaps a need to try out number two, to say, how do we create more space for people to decide whether they're on board or adjust our ability together? It's not just how do I get you on my side, it's how do I practice negotiation? How do I practice maybe sacrifice? How do I practice adjustment together? Because at the end of the day, I mean, this is what's beautiful about harmony. We are all in this together. Even, nobody legitimately goes it alone. That's probably, in many countries, that's the worst thing you can do is isolation.
Yeah.
Even if you try to think that you're by yourself, you're not. And I think people with high harmony have tuned into that and have tuned into the importance of that. So it's a pretty beautiful place. I think also on that second challenge, let's start a conversation a little bit about what some of these processes could be. What could you do that creates time, creates space, creates information exchange, that leads you maybe to a little bit of a consensus? Because it might be a habit that you could get into if you sense the need for a little more consensus, but you don't naturally have harmony.
Yeah. Maika, any final thoughts as we kind of wrap this?
I love this. I love people with high harmony. I think it's one that isn't usually very loud. And if you do have high harmony, I want you to hear loud and clear that we need it and that your insights are valuable.
Awesome. Paul has a question in the chat room. We're actually going to cover in the post show. So Paul, I know you threw that out there. We'll just tease the post show. If you join us live, we usually keep this podcast to about 30 or 35 minutes, and we do 10 or 15 minutes of a post show where we kind of we kind of tease it out, and that's one of the advantages to being here live. And so come out and join us live if you want to get a list of all the times and get a register for an email reminder to join us live. If you can do that, head out to gallup.eventbrite.com and sign up for them there. We'll remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we have available at the Gallup Strength Center, just gallupstrengthcenter.com. So send us your questions or comments if you'd like to be a guest blogger. And yeah, we do consider guest blogs. If you've got something you've been thinking about, 400 to 600 words, it can be more or most likely not less. But if you have that, send that written out to us in an email, coaching@gallup.com. Put guest blogger in the subject line. It'll make its way over to Maika, and we'll consider it for our blog. You can also catch the recorded audio and video of this program, as well as all the past ones. They're on our coach's blog. If you want to head out there, coaching.gallup.com will get you there as well. If you're interested in becoming a Gallup certified strengths coach, and actually a little secret, we have a bunch of new courses coming, depending on when you're listening to this, over the next year or so that are coaching related, but a lot around engagement and some manager stuff's coming out. You want to stay kind of close to our courses page. Go to courses.gallup.com. Of course, you can become a certified coach that way as well. Or send us an email, coaching@gallup.com, and someone will get right back to you. Join us on the Facebook page just by searching Gallup Webcast on Facebook, or head over to facebook.com/groups/called2coach. You can find Maika over there on Instagram @Strengths Talk. We'll do another theme Thursday. Looking forward to today's post show, and you can join us live and join us for the post show. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.